me explain to you why I have you standing. I've been to many conferences in my day, many. I've facilitated at conferences, I've attended many conferences, but I have never, and I mean this with the pit of my gut and every ounce of sincerity that I have never been to a conference where individuals as yourselves have been so energized, curious, completely into it. The evidence that I saw, probably the biggest piece of evidence about all of you, was that this thing started at what, 7 o'clock in the morning on the beach for some of you, 8 o'clock in this room with Joshua kicking it off. But I come in this room at 8:45 at night, and the room was still as jammed as it is today. Now, how many people have been to conferences where the late night sessions, when there are late night sessions, because frankly, I've never been to a conference as intense as this one. Has anybody else been to one? 3.5 days, 12-hour days, right? Crazy. In any other conference, if you went to a session after 5 o'clock, half the room would be at the bar, or in bed, or at the pool. Not you guys. So the reason you're standing is, out of everybody in this conference, and we can give the speakers, we can give the AWI staff kudos, but it's you, as individuals and collectively, that truly deserve the standing ovation. So please join me in giving you, as individuals and collectively, all right. So now this is not the end. It's not even the beginning of the end, but perhaps the end of the beginning. So for any of you that saw my videos, I spoke to the fact that the first video that I sent out went out about 3 or 4 weeks before boot camp started. And the thing that I addressed is that your journey for boot camp to maximize your experience should have started that day. Now I know it didn't for everybody, because at least one person came up to me and said, your video was great, but I didn't do anything with it. Which is fine, that was this person's choice. But I want you to understand this. This is in fact the end of the beginning. Boot camp is going to end in about 30 minutes, right? But the journey starts when you leave here. The rubber hits the road when you leave here. Whether you're a successful copywriter already, and that you've chosen to come here to accelerate and take it to the next level, or you're trying to figure this thing out, or you're skeptical. Your journey really starts when you leave here. Now, I got to give you a little bit of background about how I got to this stage and how excited I was. So when I was asked by Katie and Rebecca to get up on stage and close this thing out, I got pumped up. And the reason I got pumped up is because I have a love affair with AWAI. I believe in what they're doing, and I believe in people like you that are aspiring for a better life. And remember in my second video, I challenged you, let's talk about rich, right? Your definition of rich. And when I witnessed what Katie, Rebecca, and the AWI staff was trying to do, the love affair began, right? So when they asked me to speak, I got pumped up. I don't mean a little bit pumped up, I mean very pumped up. And I thought to myself, I'm going to get up on stage and I'm coming out guns a-blazing. I'm going to give this every ounce of energy, completely open up my soul, go vulnerable, give them practical tools that they can use when they leave. And then I approached my wife, I was all proud. This was about 3 months ago I started to prepare for this thing. So I got my PowerPoint together, I got my talking points together, and I sat down with my wonderful wife, Angel, and I said, babe, I'm ready. I sat down next to her and I'm going through the PowerPoints. Usually she's pretty excited. For some reason she wasn't. And I'm going through all these slides. It was about 20 to 25 slides. And I end, and I look over and she's got a blank stare in her face. I'm like, feedback? She says, it's way too much, Ted. You'll never get all the stuff done in 1 hour. And I thought to myself, I'm going to get it done. And so I started to explain to her, no, you don't understand. On that slide, I can get through that in like a minute. On that slide, yeah, I'm going to dig into that a little bit. That's like 5 minutes, but I'm going to get it done. And I didn't listen to her. So I proceeded to send my PowerPoint to Katie, Rebecca, and Denise, right? And the same day, I got feedback from Denise, given in only the way that Denise, everybody knows Denise, correct? One of the most loving, salt of the earth, soulful people, and I mean this, that I've ever met. And in her own way, she simply reminded me that you are the last speaker on the last day of a 3.5 intense workshop. Oof. My first thought, dang! My wife was right again! My second thought, deflated. I gotta go back to scratch and I gotta figure out how to give something to these people in 30 minutes. Right now, I probably only have 25. So what happened was I peeled down and I only came up with 2 things. And as Joshua mentioned, I have one question that I'm going to pose to you, that I'm going to want you to ask yourself. And then I have a thought, something that I'm going to challenge you. And the way I view it really is, it's something that will push you off the proverbial cliff to truly pursue the life that you're here to pursue. Okay? Now, I only had 2, but since I've been here, I came up with one more piece of advice for you. And I'm going to start with that piece. There is a strong chance from what I've witnessed that one of you, because I was so inspired by the members that got up here and just watching the award ceremony, there is a strong chance that one of you, in the next year or even 10 years, will be asked by Katie, Rebecca, or Denise to do exactly as I'm doing right now. To get up on stage and close AWAI's Bootcamp. Somebody in this crowd may be asked to do that. And my first piece of advice to you is, if you are that person, when asked, with clarity in your voice and extreme excitement, say, hell no. Why do I say that? I have never been so intimidated getting on the stage in my life. It is one thing to follow a great speech. It's another thing after a full day, but 3.5 days of top-notch speakers that completely stole my thunder, right? It's difficult, but also I want to take the opportunity to give all the speakers, to include the members, that graced this stage in the last 3.5 days, a round of applause. Okay, so I'm going to get in my 2 points, and I'm going to go fast because we only have about 20 minutes. If I go a little bit over, I won't ask permission, I'll just beg forgiveness, and if you have to leave, leave. Okay? Fair? All right. So the first point that I want to make to you is actually just a question. What I have learned in my life is that in my career and actually in what I do, is that the most successful people I know have learned the art of asking great questions. Right? You all agree? Yes. But more importantly, the most successful people I know and great copywriters have learned to ask themselves great questions. And there is a difference. Some people only ask others great questions, but really successful people, really rich people, have learned to ask themselves great questions. So I'm going to give you a question that you should ask yourself, and I want to narrow it down to only the next 15 to 30 days. Because as Joshua mentioned, when you go back to your busy lives, life is going to slap you in the face. So I don't want to look out 6 months from now. I want to focus on what are you going to do to keep the momentum going in the next 15 to 30 days. And I'm going to give you one question to ask yourself. And it is a profound question. Are you guys ready? Yep. I think this is going to be like a drop your mic moment like Brian had. You ready? Yep. Yes. Bang! What would a great copywriter do? Is that the most profound question you've ever seen? Judging by the looks on your face, you're thinking no. You're actually reminding me of what I thought when I was 24 years old, and let me explain. When I was 24 years old, I was running a nonprofit in Minneapolis, Minnesota, right? And I was way above my years. Meaning, I had no business being a manager or a leader at that point in my life, right? I didn't really know what I was doing. But I was fortunate enough, hi friend, but I was fortunate enough to have a father who was an amazing leader. He was actually a college president in Philadelphia. And we used to talk every Saturday morning to kind of recap the week. And then I'd also ask him about work and leadership. And I'd ask him questions like, how should I run meetings? Or what kind of activity should I be doing? What what do I need to do to become the best leader that I need to be? And he used to simply tell me, Ted, I treat my janitor with the same level of respect and dignity as I do my vice president. As a matter of fact, he took it so far, you know what, Ted, every time the janitor walked into my big office with the big trash can to empty my trash, I never let him pick up the trash can underneath my desk. I empty my own trash. And I thought to myself, well, give me more than that. I get it. I was raised in the house by you and mom, right? I get it. Treat others as you wanted to be treated. But Dad, you have a PhD. You can give me more than that. You're politically connected. You run a college. I'm thinking a PhD's got to give me better advice than that. What's the D stand for? Duh. And I'm thinking to myself, you're looking at me like, duh? It's not duh. Because if you follow my advice and you ask this question of yourself several times a day in the next 15 to 30 days and beyond, 4 things will happen almost instantaneously. And I'm going to show you what those 4 things are. First of all, how many of you have found yourself feeling like this woman underneath this rock? Right? Whether it be you're between a rock and a hard place, life circumstances has put your back against the wall, or perhaps you just sent in a piece of copy and it got rejected. The list could be long for you as an individual, but we've all been here before. Unfortunately, what happens in these situations is our emotions run high. And what happens when emotions run high? We make poor decisions. Oftentimes we act in ways we don't want to act, or we say things we don't want to say. But if you were to pause and ask yourself, what would a great copywriter do when your emotions are high? I can almost guarantee you, instantaneously, the emotions will start to subside and you will start to think in a practical way, what would a great copywriter do, and take action, not emotional action. As a matter of fact, the emotions will go down and the intellect will sink in, because great copywriters do not make decisions on emotion. That's number 1. Make sense? Number 2, I don't have to explain this. Like I said, speakers before me, Carlin, she had pictures of her kids up on them and her family. Alex opened up with his keynote talking about his family. Pam, she killed it talking about her family. So here, what I will say to you is this, simply, I am rich as rich can be, right? You have to have a deeper purpose. The picture, the beautiful woman next to me is my wife, Angel, who I miss. I've been away for 4 days. But this is what I'll say. We all hear people say, I want to live the copywriter's life, the writer's life, because I want to create time. I'm going to challenge you today to leave here and think slightly deeper. So when I think, sure, I want time, and I have created the writer's life in my own niche, but I want time with my family. But for my wife, I want her to live a life that she's never dreamed of. I want her to know that she is loved by a man that she never thought possible. I want her to feel supported in every which way. I want her to feel the allowance to be vulnerable. And yeah, every once in a while I want to get her a little Louis Vuitton purse. For my beautiful children, on the top there is Jackson, he's 4 years old, and on the bottom is Maxwell, 3 years old. And yes, I want more time with them, but what I really want with them, and which I can't do without time and a little bit of cash, not cash for this one, to be honest with you. What I really want from them is to one day earn the right for them to call me hero. And believe me, I haven't earned that right yet. That is a big, tall task. Cash can't do it. Time can do it. Presence can do it. But I'm going to challenge you that when you get in a bind, I want you to ask yourself, why are you pursuing this life that you just spent 3.5 days here to kickstart? And if you're not connected something in an extremely deep way, like I'm connected to my family, then you better get connected quickly. Because when times get tough and you ask yourself, what would a great copywriter do? You will dig into that why, and resilience will kick in dang near immediately. I promise you that. So get kicked in. I have to pause and say, Angel, I love you. She's watching. Happy anniversary. And to Jackson and Maxwell, thumbs up, buddies. Daddy will be on tomorrow. Number 3, and you may not like this one, that this question does, but when you ask yourself this question, it reveals your weaknesses, right? And I'll give you a secret. You can use these questions in different aspects of your life. For example, what would a great husband do? What would a great partner do? What would a great parent do? And in my line of work, because I do a lot of leadership coaching, like I work with Katie and Rebecca, I often ask, what would a great leader do, right? Oftentimes, leaders are put in situations that include conflict. Has everybody been in situations like that? And how many people in here like conflict? You do? I like conflict, but we won't get into that today. There's a reason why conflict is good, but we won't talk about it. Katie and Rebecca know it well, but we won't talk about it today. My point is this. Oftentimes we get put in situations where we don't want to do something that, for example, a leader who knows they have to go into the office today and address an employee and or get in the middle of 2 employees where there's conflict. And they say, well, I'm just not going to deal with it. I'm going to put my head behind the screen and type some emails and do my thing. But if that person paused and said, what would a great leader do? Immediately they would know that they have to do something that involves conflict. It's the same thing for you. Now, you guys are leaving here with a plethora of information about what a great copywriter do, right? In some ways, which, for the record, we only have a couple minutes today, but you will be getting a follow-up video from me within 2 weeks. We're not going to leave you hanging because you've gotten an overload of information, correct? Some of you are probably wondering what the heck is the next step, correct? We'll take care of that, okay? But I want you to pause again and ask yourself, what would a great copywriter do? And I want you to embrace your weaknesses and then take action to correct them. Fair? And lastly, we are all guilty of saying things like, that's just not me. How many of you have said that? Right? That's not me. That's not in my comfort zone. I don't write copy like that. I'm not going to do that. Right? Marsha eloquently talked about introverts versus extroverts. There she is. Right? Introverts naturally don't do certain things. Extroverts do certain things. If you ask yourself the question, what will a great copywriter do? It will almost instantly inspire you to move out of your comfort zone and your natural state of personality. Right? As you can see up here, 90% of the population lives in the comfort zone. The great copywriters in this room, these 7-figure copywriters, and the stories, the amazing stories that we heard about in the last 3 days, these people somewhere along the line, to be the best that you can be, has to step out of their comfort zone. I did today. I was talking to Marsha last night about the introverts, and my wife could verify this. I am introverted as heck. But in order for me to go out and try to do what I want to do and have my little impact in the world, I have to get on stages like this. Scared out of my mind to do so, but you're going to have to jump out of your comfort zone. So I ask myself questions like, what would the best coach do? And then I get up on stage. So again, in a nutshell, what I'm asking you to do in the ensuing weeks is slow down when you feel overwhelmed. Slow down when you haven't written for 30 minutes in the beginning of the day, and ask yourself, what would a great copywriter do? And pay attention to 2 things. How your mindset adjusts to that, and then what activity follows that. Make sense? Okay, so it is actually a more profound question than your faces showed me in the beginning. And I want you to pay attention to the question. Oftentimes, the simplest questions or the simplest statements are the ones that we need to take heed to. And I really want you to understand that. So why now? Why should you pursue this life now? Some of you have already pursued it. We've heard evidence of it. You've heard cliches, right, before, like life is not a dress rehearsal. How many people have heard that before? Right? I heard it. I knew it. right? We all know. But life gets in the way. Sometimes we deal with life on life's terms, correct? I'm here to challenge you and push you off that proverbial cliff. And I want to show you why. This picture was taken 21 years ago. And the man on the left, or my left right here, this gentleman called me on this day, 21 years ago. And he said to me, Ted, I just spent the most profound day of my life. I spent the day with Rosa Parks, the woman that helped me and allowed me to become your father. That is my father with Rosa Parks. Clearly, I'm adopted. This man and his beautiful wife, my mother, in 1971 broke boundaries and adopted me, a black son, into their white family. They had already had 2 biological children. This was taken 21 years ago. 19 and a half years ago, on Father's Day, I lost that man. The message, without going into it, the message, all these years later, almost 20 years later, what I want to share with you is this. Losing my father was the absolute worst thing that ever happened to me in my life, and may prove to be the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life. Today can still take my breath away. Now, in the same sentence, on the same stage, I will tell you, losing my father was absolutely the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. The best. And you may be wondering, what the hell is he talking about? I decided to do something with it. But this is what happens in life, right? Our backs get put up against the wall because tragedy happens, right? We've heard stories of it today. People that got laid off and then decided to pursue the writing, even though they had bought an AWF package 2 years ago, right? Laid off, and then all of a sudden they decided to get into it. How many people have lost a loved one in this room, and then all of a sudden, I'm going to decide today to love a little bit deeper, live a little bit lighter, connect with my family a little bit more, only to turn around a week later and go right back to the 9 to 5 and continue to work, right? This is the back of my business card, helping people and companies grow before tragedy. That's my mission in life because I lost my father. I am unacceptable of people not willing to jump into the pit and create the life that they want. Because I know, I'm fortunate that I lost my dad at a raw age of 25 years old. My mother once said to me recently, 2 years ago, I wonder what kind of person I would have been if I was to lose my parent at the age that you did. And that was after years of trying to convince her I wasn't nutty, because this is my mission statement. My point here is this, gang. Don't wait for tragedy. I'm almost pleading you, on my knees, pleading you, do not wait for tragedy to take the action steps you need to create this very rich life that is right in front of you. I'm pleading you not to do it. Do not waste this opportunity. Don't leave here and in 2 weeks let your mojo slip out the door. I'm pleading. Before I close, I want to share a poem with you that I think is 100% relevant to the journey that all of you embarked on today. It is one of my favorite poems, and if you want to write it down, I think you're going to like it that much and want to revisit it. It's called The Invitation by Oriah the Mountain Dreamer. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you paid for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive.